Alright, so this is saved. So let's go take a quick look at what the markets are doing. We had some holidays. Markets were not moving. So let's see what's taking place. I saw Bitcoin moving throughout the holidays. How funny. Didn't Boris Johnson get back into the Brexit deal over the holidays?
Yeah, signed off over the holidays. Yeah,
During the holidays, huh?
yeah, it got agreed, and then they got to just put it in front of Parliament this week.
Yeah, during holidays. You know, the other time that there was a big thing signed into legislation during the holidays was the Federal Reserve Bank being put in the hands of private bankers. Usually they do nefarious things during the holidays when nobody's paying attention, when everybody's just
Yeah.
relaxing. They pass through these things.
Hmm.
Um, so gold, the key chart I was looking at here was the weekly and daily because I wanted to see if they were going to remove this weekly area of supply. And it looks like they have, but it was with this emotional candle here. So since then, we've created another candle that has taken it out, but I'd
Yeah.
like to wait and see because there's not a lot of trading right now. So when there's not a lot of trading, there could be big movements like this caused by, just a bunch of trading. It's not necessarily retail or institutions removing those areas. So I'd like to wait and see before. But I wouldn't doubt if it would be removed. As I was talking to Jason, right? Price was
Yeah.
responding from this, came down from weekly, responded to daily, and then for the move up. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was removed. So that might be the case. Oil. What's going on with oil? Remove demand, creating supply. We're still in monthly supply. It could take some time for it to make its way higher because it's in monthly supply. But I think over the longer term, we'll see price come up there
Yeah, definitely.
still. The dollar, what's taking place with the dollar? We got a little bit of action, not much. Price is responding from the monthly area of demand. Big wick being created, which is good. So we could get a push to the upside. How much of a push? That's the question. We don't know because overall supply is in play and we would expect price to drop.
Yeah.
So what's going to take place on these lower time frames? It's hard to know. Aussie showing some weakness, falling short of hitting monthly supply, but we are inside 6-month supply, just about to hit 3-month supply. So it can react in ways that are, a little bit difficult to forecast. CAD yen, we were looking at CAD yen. Responded to that monthly area supply, a lot of pressure to the downside, and this demand zone didn't hold because of that pressure. Remember what I was saying, the pressure from that trend line. It comes against the daily, takes it out. So buying there would have been, risky because of that extra pressure to the downside. Euro, what do we see with Euro? So Euro it took out this supply that we had, created demand, came down, now responding to that demand. So still not doing much. So I wouldn't even pay attention to the 4-hour chart. It's, more about the daily chart. Once this demand gets taken out, it opens up the floodgates for a move down here to weekly demand. That's what I see. Euro yen have still orders to go long. It's still legitimate. It's still legitimate because we have this demand zone, this trend line. If price was to come down, fall short, create a demand, a 50% candle, and then make a new high for a new trend line to be drawn, then this would be disqualified. because we'd have a new trend line to the upside, right?
Yeah.
And one of the reasons that is making this trade valid is, we have an uptrend on the daily chart, and so if it comes down here, that's the buy signal. But if it creates a new trend, even higher, and new demand, then we can't keep our orders here, because if this top demand was taken out, what's to make this demand hold, the one below,
Mhm.
right?
Correct.
Nothing
Yeah.
is to make it hold. So far it's still legitimate. And this trade really is based on the euro strength that we are expecting, and the US dollar Japanese yen to not do much because of this demand that it's sitting within. So you see it dropped and now it's coming back up, it's holding, so it's not doing much. So if the euro does drop towards that weekly area of demand that we were looking at, that could easily facilitate the drop on the euro yen from these highs down to that demand zone.
Mhm.
So we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. Okay. So pound. We are talking about this weekly area of supply as well that was contacted multiple times. Quick test here. Next time it hit, it responded. Next time it hit, it responded. Okay. So it's like the chart that we just finished doing, the US CAD. Remember the multiple tests of the same area and constantly responding?
Yeah.
So if we were to look on the daily chart, we would see the same type of behavior on the daily chart. So the key thing to watch for on this chart was for the removal of this supply. Okay. Why would that be key? Well, because that's the obstacle that's keeping price down for a long time. And we know that the markets want to go up. The euro, pound, Aussie, Kiwi, we know that they've been going up and they've been wanting to go up. But if the institutions create this garbage, is this what a demand zone usually looks like that breaks through an opposing zone?
Mm.
It's not a good place to draw
Yeah.
demand.
No.
I should think that. Yeah.
No. So then that means something else is taking place. It took it out by a couple pips and now price is dropping. So on the one time frame lower, yes, this was the zone that removed it. Here, oops. This was the zone that removed that weekly right here. And it came down, responded, emotional wick traded through it, but then institutions with the proper proportion took it back up. But this is not, when it doesn't look good on the weekly, and it's the
Mhm.
weekly supply that needs the proper removal, if it doesn't look good on the weekly, there's no trade on the daily. You know what I'm saying? Not a good idea. So we're still expecting this to go higher, but we need the proper break of that weekly supply with a proper weekly demand, and then I'd be interested in taking a trade. So far, I don't see anything decent on this chart. Kiwi, we're starting to get a reaction. Sorry?
I had a trend line going up on the 4-hour on the pound. This might be one of the cases when it doesn't make a good trend line because it's only a quick up. But do I still have my pen? Right here. Oop. Is that working?
Oh, there?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's yeah, that looks legitimate.
And then would you have the secondary up there? So are we sitting in secondary
No,
supply?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
I
Gotcha.
wouldn't, because of that green candle. Because of this one. This green candle is more of a border, momentum to the upside, beginning of the move, and then drop.
Okay.
So yeah, again, no, so almost exactly like what we were just looking at. See, this is why it's so important, because again, why would we have a situation like that where price responds to the downside and then creates supply? Well, it's not, that the institutions are filling in new supply there to eventually break this demand. It's prices responding from supply and dropping. So yeah, there could be a trend line there for sure that looks okay, because we had the one rally, 150%, one candle drop, multiple candles. So the more price stays at a certain level, the more it validates an area. I thought you were pointing out to this one here, rally, base, drop, 50%
No, I
rally.
didn't on that one. The
This one's
crossover's no good on that.
This one's very questionable.
Yeah, the wick
Very
crosses
questionable.
over. Or let me see, how close does that come?
It's just it doesn't look good in my eyes. So,
Mhm.
and it's okay because there's higher time frame things going on. When higher time frame things are what the focus is, we're gonna get very strange behavior on lower time frames. So we don't necessarily have to draw every little thing that we see based on the rules. It's a lot more at that point, just applying what you know to be true and looking for the most obvious stuff. In this case here, this would have been a zone here. Yeah, right here. That supply. There we go. Okay. So Kiwi running out of steam. There's no supply that Kiwi is hitting. So if it's going to turn over, it's going to be because of the other markets. So, euro hitting supply, dollar hitting demand. If it reverses, it's because of that.
Okay.
But when we look at the context of what price is, where it is, it just created demand. So if price does reverse, it's going to come down to these areas here because there's really nothing to stop price from dropping. Okay, it could technically come down to demand and rally because we have an uptrend on the daily and we don't have an ascending trend line here. Okay, so it could do that. Yeah, it's difficult to say because we have no trend on the monthly, we have no trend on the weekly, so it could do just about anything. But just know that this turning over is not because of what's happening on this chart, it's because it's the reaction from the other charts. Sure, there's some influence here because of a bearish engulf on the 3 months, but I don't believe it's being dictated by that. It's more the other markets. US CAD pushing up, is it? Yeah, gained some strength. Yeah, we have now we have demand down here. Here we go.
But it's definitely removing that
Yeah.
3-month demand give.
Yeah, so far it looks good.
Yeah.
Yeah, so far it looks good. Yeah, so again, the same thing, supplies here. It could easily reverse up to there and drop based on the other markets. US Swiss franc. Okay. This one's hitting weekly demand. And US dollar Japanese yen responding, yeah, it's inside monthly demand. And now we're seeing the pressure. So it looks like, we should be seeing dollar strength. That's what is very likely, dollar strength. And euro weakness, pound weakness, Kiwi weakness, Aussie weakness. That would
Temporarily.
look temporarily, exactly.
Yeah.
Temporarily. And then as that happens, yeah, this could just sit here for a while. Gold, it could go a little bit higher, go sideways. Who knows? All we know, there isn't a strong signal here on gold. So, and Bitcoin making highs, got new demand zones. Yeah, 4-hour demand is removed. 4-hour demand is removed, so that would lead us to suspect that it's going to come down to the daily and then go. If daily gets removed, it would lead us to suspect that the weekly is going to be engaged and then go.
Correct. Yeah.
If the weekly gets removed, we would suspect that price will come down to the monthly and then take off. So
Yeah.
that's how the markets work. But remember what I say about Bitcoin. We're dealing with something completely different. Okay, there's a lot of people involved in Bitcoin because everybody talks about it. So there could be a different dynamic. So the reason why I want to start tracking it, because I want to see how reliable it is based on what we know to be true about the markets. If it's not reliable, then I'm gonna, be shy about trading it, right? If it responds to the sequence, then it's telling me, yeah, you can trade me. I respond to the sequence. I respond to what you know to be true about the market, so you can trust me. But so far, what I've seen is it's a give and take with this chart. Sometimes it follows what I know to be true, and most of the times it doesn't. So why would I want to trade a chart that does that?
Correct. And you have so many other charts.
When you have so many other charts.
Yeah.
And I've been asked so many times, do I track bonds? And I'm like, no, I don't. Because look, this is a 6-month chart. Who wants to trade this? Who wants to trade that? How do you draw trend lines and stuff like that? Look at the daily chart. How do you draw trend lines?
And
So many gap ups and the gap down. Look at this. This is a weekly chart. Why would you want to trade that? To make money, you got to buy something and it has to move. And it has to move in areas where there's no obstructions. It's going to go there. It has to follow. Otherwise, I wouldn't want to trade this. This is a horrible chart. I would not want to trade it. I'm not going to trade it just because bonds are cool. People say bonds are cool.
Yeah.
I'm not going to trade it just because it's cool. I'm sorry. I'm not going to do it. I'm not a fundamental investor. If you want to be a fundamental investor and you want to trade bonds because you figured out that buying bonds is a good time, do that. But that's not what we do here. This is a messy chart. If you want to base your analysis on fundamentals, you better know what you're doing, because what have we come to learn about fundamentals?
Yeah, correct.
Nobody knows fundamentals better than the banks. And if they want to push price against the fundamentals, they're going to do it. If they're going to use your knowledge of the fundamentals against you, they're going to do it. So when you know it's heavily manipulated like that, why the hell would you ever pay attention to that? You wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to.
Just can you trade supply and demand on stocks, like on companies like Apple and all that sort, and it works on there as well?
Let's bring up Apple. Let's see, APPL. Is that what it is?
Yeah, and just sort of stocks in general.
Okay, so we got uptrends on all time frames.
Gaps too.
It's very difficult to read the charts, especially with all the gaps and stuff.
Yeah.
You see, price comes down. It falls short of hitting demand, and then it reverses up. Let's see what it did down here at the bottom. Okay, here, falls short of hitting demand. And then no trend line. Then there's a trend line up. It's not pretty. Not with this chart. No, I wouldn't want
A
to.
lot of people
You'd have
trade
you'd
things
have to
like
have
the
some
DAX and things.
you'd have to have some serious supply and demand analysis skills to just figure out the trend lines. Let's try another one. What's Netflix again? And
NFLX.
um, yeah, I don't see anything, really good here except for there's a weekly demand that's in play right now. That's all
So
there
would you
is.
say it's more structured on things like the DAX and that, where you're taking, like, say, 100 companies and what they're doing and their value? There's a lot more sort of, I suppose, solidity in that sort of thing.
Well, let's see.
So have you got the NASDAQ, the DAX, the FTSE, S&P, all those?
It's not even that much better when you go to the indices, because what really works well are higher time frame zones, in big drops. Okay, like you see the 3-month that responded here, the monthly, or the 6-month, the monthly, but and this weekly demand zone did very well, breaking the all-time highs here. Supply that broke the ascending trend line. Price came right back to that weekly demand and it went. And then here, this daily area of demand that took out this secondary zone, price came down. What I'm saying is that, I would not trade stocks using supply and demand. I would not trade stocks using supply and demand. You could, but it's not going to work as well, okay? Because you got a lot more players trading stocks, that can manipulate those stocks. So if you got a hedge fund who's making a big move on a company stock, they're not moving price based on how the institutions would move price with currencies. They're not, creating this sequence, right? They're not manipulating other traders, creating a certain sequence of movements. So, they might be creating something else, but I haven't studied that. I don't know. I don't know what that is. Are they pumping and dumping? Are they, you'd have to find some other methodology to trade stocks in a more consistent and profitable manner than to just use supply and demand, in my opinion. Because I've applied supply and demand principles to stocks, and sure, it works sometimes, and other times it doesn't. But it's not consistent enough for me to enjoy the results. So I just prefer not to. You have a market that's going to all-time highs. So what is in play? It's also reliant on, what's happening in the world. Because if they create a situation, you saw what happened with COVID, everything dropped. COVID came out and everything dropped. So what sequences does it stick with? What zones is it going to respect? I mean, there's too much unknowns. And I just, out of all the markets, and I've looked at so many of them, the ones that are most consistent in their movements and most predictable are the currency markets, gold, oil, those big energies, those huge markets are the ones that are more consistent. Why? Because of the biggest markets in the world, number one. And when they are the biggest markets in the world, the biggest players in the world are moving them. And the more people involved in something, the more consistent your technique has to be to lure people in to steal their money. So from what I've seen, trading currencies and the currency pairs that we track, are the ones that are most consistent, most predictable, the least risky, because again, you could be in a position in a stock and then the market closes. You can have a stop loss. That stop loss doesn't matter. If in after hours trading, price goes right past your stop loss, that's it. You're screwed. Now you can't control your risk, because if you put your stop loss below a demand zone, that would only allow you to risk 1%. If the market gaps down below that zone and it opens up the next day way below your demand zone, you could lose 2, 3, 4, 5%, and that will screw up everything. That'll screw up, how you're managing your account. So, and that's happened to me, and I did not like that one bit. That really, really pissed me off. And then it just throws your whole mindset. You don't have control. You feel like you don't have control. I like to sleep at night. I like to be in positions, and I like to know exactly what I'm doing. I like to know what my outs are if I'm wrong. I like to know exactly what's to be expected. I sleep well at night, knowing that my stop losses are in the market. And as I approach the weekend, I feel safe with my stop losses, because I know there's less than 1% chance that price is going to gap, and pass my stop loss. Because as long as you're going with the flow of what the institutions are doing, price will not go against you. Period. I know that for a fact, because I've studied the market long enough to know that. But with the stocks, forget about it. I don't know that for a fact. Because if the guy dies, if the president of the company dies over the weekend in a ski accident, how the hell could I have seen that coming?
Or
the gaps against you, that's it.
Yeah, these big car companies, all it takes is something to happen overnight with
that's all it takes.
Part of their technology or something, and suddenly the value plummet.
I don't want to play with that. No, thank you. No,
that's just
not
you
for
get
me.
asked questions, because say for instance, like my father-in-law, he trades stocks, but he's no more than a speculator, really. Do you know what I mean? It's like I said to him, so what do you do then? How do you do it? He said, I just look through the investing papers. I look for a company that looks like it's got a good idea, and then I buy stocks. And you're like, really? But he does very well. But I mean, it just seems like it's a lot of luck, and a lot of, like you say, you're at the lack of the gods of it. Look at these things like the big car companies that suddenly, for instance, like VW or whatever, got exposed for their engine wasn't as clean as what it was, and suddenly they're all recalled, etc., etc. And then you don't know that's going to happen. You haven't got a clue that's going to happen. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So no, it's just interesting to see if it works with that sort of stuff as well.
And you got to be careful with the information that's provided to you, because you don't know if they're just setting you up or if it's legitimate. So what I've learned in life is I believe what I've studied with my own eyes and ears and with my own time and effort. I believe what I have studied. And even then I have to kind of, not put all the weight on what I've learned, because 2 years down the road, I'll learn more and have better information. So it's all a gradual process. And if I don't see it with my own eyes and I can't figure it out with my own senses, I'm very reluctant to trust it. And, I can trust my trading in the currency markets and with gold and oil, because I've studied these markets more than anything else. I know these markets better than any other market. And I know how they move. I know what to expect. I know the sequences they follow. And I feel extremely comfortable with it. So I stick with that. I don't care about anything else.
Okay, cheers.
All right, guys.
I actually, just real quick, had a question. I have, speaking of the currency pairs, I have Euro Franc available on my broker. I noticed that's one that we don't do, or that you don't keep track of.
What would that be? EUR?
CHF.
CHF?
EUR CHF? The Euro Swiss franc?
Swiss.
Oh, Swiss franc, yeah. I think at one time I did look at this. Let's see. Yeah, even the US Swiss franc is an ugly chart, and I don't really like it.
Mm.
So yeah, this is not too bad. I mean, yeah, I don't like these big moves. This was that big crash, lowering price. That was also very manipulative. This big move here, I think it was 2015, where they said the Swiss franc wasn't going to go below a certain level, and then everybody was buying it when it got to that level. And then what did the banks do? Dropped it even further. Boom, suckers! You fell for us. You believed what we told you, and now we're going to take all your money away. That was just so brutal. Yeah, that was just really brutal. And I remember looking at the markets at that time. I'm like, do I want to get involved? Do I want to start buying? I'm like, no, that's too risky. Just because they said that they don't want to do something, you know, since when are they my friend? They're not my friend. They don't give a shit. I'm not going to trust. And I didn't. And then, you know, days passed and it dropped so hard. And I was like, wow, you see what they just did right there. So yeah, this is an ugly chart. I don't like it.
I
don't
figured
like
that
it,
was
so
the
I
reason,
wouldn't
but
bother.
just wanted to ask.
You know,
Another question.
New
Someone else have a question?
I was going to say New Zealand CAD was one that I used to follow, but there were things about it, how it played out, that were a little bit questionable for me, and it didn't make sense, so I just deleted it and I stopped following it.
Gotcha. Now, you know, I know how you feel about cryptocurrency, but I was just curious. I read that there will make futures contracts available for Ethereum come February, and I was wondering if Ethereum made a higher high, would you be interested in tracking it?
What's the symbol for that?
ETHUSD should also be available on Bitfinex.
This one's strong. I can keep an eye on it. Let's see, add to watch list. Is Bitfinex the good data feed to be using?
I think they have a lot of liquidity. They're one of the biggest ones. So since you already started on that, I think that one's fine.
So, yeah, so I could start tracking it. But, you know, the thing is that when you don't have, like, you look at any chart, you have lots of supply, lots of demand. It's gone through a lot of different phases, so you can determine where it's at. This is just, there's not enough here. There's not enough to determine what where it's at. So it's just risky. You want to buy it? Like,
no, not
you could
particularly.
buy it. No, I'm not saying specifically you. I'm just saying in general. Like, if you want to buy it, but it's extremely risky. Could it go to 1,200? Sure it could. Could it go to 1,400? Sure it could. Could it go to 1,600? Sure it could. Could it go to 2,000? You know, sure it could. But that's like guessing. I don't want to walk into a casino feeling hot and bet money on something that's really a guess. And people can say, no, but it's not a guess. You see, because of this reason and that reason and this reason and that. Bullshit. That's what everybody was saying last time it was spiking, you know? Last time Bitcoin was going to the moon, everybody was saying that. And they had all the reasons to validate that. Oh, it's because of this and then that, and it's going to go up, and then the economy, and then it's going to drop, and then the dollar's going to get weak, so everybody's going to be piling in. Everybody had all the reasons in the world why it was going to go to 100,000, okay? And it was valid. Everybody bought based on that information, and then it collapsed. So what about that was solid, that information? It wasn't solid. But at the time, it was solid information, so that's why everybody was buying it. That's why I would never buy Bitcoin right now. I don't care if it goes higher. I don't care. I don't make irrational decisions like that. So I just stay away. Until it creates what I know to be true, until it creates some history, and I start to see with my own eyes that it's following a certain track, And I know that to be true because I've put in the time and effort to determine that to be true. Until that happens, I won't ever feel confident trading Bitcoin or any of these cryptocurrencies for that simple reason, because I cannot trust anything and anybody ever tells me. Period. I can't. Because they will just tell me what I want to hear to lure me in. It's always like that. And if I make money, it's because I'm lucky. That's the only reason. Okay, it can go from 800 to 1,000, sure, but
I was just more interested from a just like more like a curiosity of analysis more than really any real interest in buying it. I mean, I when I first was introduced to any of this kind of stuff, the first thing that I heard of was Bitcoin, and I got lucky with that, and then I got very unlucky after that. So I know, I know it's not really the greatest thing. It's more just a curiosity to see if it's going to do, if it does behave the way that you would think it would.
Yeah, it's going to take a while to do that, because for me to feel comfortable with this chart, it has to do this and that and down. Okay, it'd have to create something like this to have many established supply zones that were removed to create supply, that were removed to create demand. I need to see that. I need to see that. I need to see it establish something. It's only been in this range one time, and now it's coming back to that one supply one time. So how do I know if it's going to create demand and be used to facilitate a move higher, or if it's going to be taken out to create supply? You know what I'm saying? I don't know. It's too early to tell. I could not. There's no history of this chart for me to be able to look at and see what it's done in the past for me to determine what is likely going to happen. There's just not enough. And then you look at the monthly. How am I supposed to know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
It went up once. It came up again. And now it's going up again. Okay, but how do I know it's going to continue? How do I know if it's going to stop and go down? I don't know anything. So I'm definitely not going to switch on the news or listen to a podcaster or listen to a celebrity or listen to anybody. I don't care who it is. If Mother Teresa was reborn and she said, buy this, I would not do it, because all these people come out and they pump it. There's a lot of pumping and dumping going on. A lot of celebrities. Whenever a celebrity comes out who knows nothing about the markets and they're like, oh, I'm really supporting this Bitcoin and here's all the reasons why, all of a sudden they're like some expert. It's because people have so little respect for you that they think just because you like this person's movies that you're going to make a financial decision. Okay? Trusting this character who all he is an actor. Okay, this guy decided to go to acting school, take some lessons to learn how to, talk in an accent and act like, he's a different person. Okay, and all of a sudden you're gonna look at this guy who's acting like he knows what Bitcoin's all about, and he's acting in your interest. This guy's just an actor. Maybe he's been out of business. He needs his pay. He needs a paycheck. Yeah, he needs to put his kids through school. Somebody comes and says, hey, Bitcoin. And they're like, I don't really know about Bitcoin. No, but it's the hottest thing. And then somebody convinces him it's the hottest thing. And because he knows nothing about the markets, he's going to fall for it. And he's going to say, yeah, I see your point. I could be a superstar, man. First, I was a superstar because I played those characters in the movie. Now I can be even bigger superstar, because 5 years from now, people are going to say, hey, dude, you're awesome. You told me to buy Bitcoin when it was at 10,000. You said it was going to go to 50,000, and it did. That's what he's thinking in his head. Meanwhile, he doesn't know that he's a sucker. Okay? Just like he's a sucker playing in those movies because he's good at making people believe him, and he's playing these roles that are all about just manipulating people into believing certain things. He was a sucker to fall for that. He's going to be a sucker to fall for trying to sell you, buying Bitcoin. So if I know that to be true, and I know that they're using all these techniques to lure people into Bitcoin, why would I be crazy enough to even be involved in these markets?
Correct.
No way. And my buddy's like, sorry?
No, it's funny you said that, because exactly the same thing happened the other day in the UK. I got a thing on my phone which is an ex-professional footballer who's pretty well known. He's a pundit, you know what I mean? And he's suddenly endorsing a trading platform on like a mobile trade with all the usual. I'm sitting at home in my big mansion talking to my other football buddies, and it's like suddenly you've got all these professional footballers that are retired coming up on this advert. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? You know what I mean? And he's like, what I do, I turn my phone on, I look at the markets, and then I just trade, you know, I just trade with the professionals. So basically, I just copy what. And you're thinking, Joe Cole, if people invest in that platform and they lose a lot of money, they're going to be coming for you and all the people, like all these famous people that are suddenly associated with it. Do you know what I mean? It's the first time I've seen. It's the first time I've seen someone famous. Do you know what I mean? Actually endorsing a mobile trading platform. Never seen it before. Crazy.
And they're all protected. You know, when it comes down to it, if you try to go after them, you know, you'll be forced to go after the company, and you won't be able to get anything from that guy, because that celebrity will not put himself out there to be held accountable for you losing money. You know, when you sign that contract to use that trading software, it says this is risky as hell, and you can lose money, and you understand that you're likely going to lose money if you don't have experience, and you sign it, and that's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And these people have no souls. They don't care. They have no souls. They're told, hey, can you help us to sell this idea? You won't be held responsible. Yeah, but I don't know about you guys. No, but listen, people are going to sign the contract. That's, you know, if they don't read the 150-page terms and conditions, that's their freaking problem, right? And you're like, well, I guess so. If they're lazy bastards, that's on them, right? Okay, I'll sign. Where do I sign? Right here? That's just how the world works, right? So no, I wouldn't trust anybody. If there's a pump and dump going on, I'm not touching it.
No.
So that's my rule. So that's it. I only trust my own senses and what I see. That's it. Forget about everything else. I'm in this to make money consistently as a professional, not because I bought it at 20,000 and now, you know, I'm smart because it went to 28. I have a buddy who's always telling me to buy Bitcoin. And when it was, I don't know, 14,000 or something, he's like, it's gonna go, man, it's gonna go, you gotta buy it, it's a good buy. I'm like, based on what? Oh, because everybody's this, everybody's that, everybody's saying this, and because of that, he bought this book, and the book said this, and that's why it's supposed to do that. And it's like, okay, great. And then when it goes up, he's like, bro, did you buy? I told you to buy. See, if you would have bought, then it would have gone up. If I would have held mine, because I sold mine, and if I would have held it, then I would have had this much. It's like, stop, okay? Just be quiet, okay? I'm a professional trader, you're not. So you stick to what you know, I stick to what I know. Don't try to influence me to think like an amateur, all right? I've spent many years trying to deprogram my brain to stop thinking like an amateur so I can think like a professional. So the last thing I want is to engage in a conversation with you about why I should be buying Bitcoin. For God's sakes, do what you do, I do what I do.
Yes, exactly.
You know?
Yeah.
So if it goes up 28,000, bravo, you're a genius. Okay? Why don't you buy some more now? And then when it goes down to 16,000, you're going to zip up your mouth and you're not going to say anything to me. Okay? What you're going to be secretly thinking is, oh, this guy's smart because he didn't buy when I told him to buy. Yeah. But you're going to stay quiet. You only speak out loud when you make money. You don't say anything about the times that you lose money. Okay? So keep your opinions to yourself, and that's it. Don't try to influence me. I don't want your influence. So that's it. I'll start tracking it, but, you know, look at the 6-month chart. You know, I would love to see price come down here, momentum shift on the monthly, and then start building. Then I'll start getting interested. Okay? Then I'll start getting interested. Why? Because I know what's in play for a fact. Okay? When I know what's in play for a fact, as a matter of fact, then I get excited. Because I don't have to listen to people pumping and dumping. I see with my own eyes, and I take what I know to be true, and I'll base my trading decisions off of that.
Yes.
But
Yes.
not off of anything else. There's no way.